some more interesting theories are coming out connected to Roman Reigns, so we'll see what's going on there. We'll also check out what's new for Becky, AJ, and more. Starting things off with Becky Lynch triggering a former WWE superstar to fire some remarks at her. This all kicked off with a recent interview from Becky Lynch in which she reflected on her 2019 run in WWE, immediately following her historic win during the main event of WrestleMania 35. Becky Lynch had this to say when reflecting on her first feud after becoming a double champion. Quote, "I started working with Lacey Evans right out of the gate, God bless her, but for me to go from the main event of WrestleMania to somebody who hadn't done anything was terrible," end quote. Becky's comments did not seem like a personal jab at Lacey Evans. Becky's remarks were more of a jab at the storytelling and creative side of things. Becky was pointing out the logical flaws of her main eventing WrestleMania and taking down massive names like Charlotte Flair and Ronda Rousey to facing a brand new rookie and a much smaller name compared to who she faced at WrestleMania. It sounds like Becky was saying that it would have been much better if she faced a much larger opponent immediately coming out of that historic WrestleMania win. It sounds like that's what Becky was trying to say there with her remarks, that there were more interesting and bigger first feuds she could have had as double champion. But then, Becky's quote started spreading online, getting a bit taken out of context, and that narrative started to falsely spin as it being a diss towards Lacey. The remarks eventually made it back to Lacey Evans herself, and she fired back hard and directly at Becky Lynch. Lacey Evans' response to Becky included 11 individual posts. Lacey told Becky to hate the game, not the player, and how if Lacey came back, Becky would be shaking her hand and calling her family cute backstage. Lacey then jabbed Becky for grinding on the indies for several years, but not having any exciting moves like Lacey had herself. Lacey then reposted one of her own backflips off the top rope versus one from Becky Lynch, pointing out how Becky wasn't as good as hers. A lot of fans were confused by Lacey's response because Becky did not directly jab her in any way. It appears that Lacey just saw that quick quote online and didn't really know the context of the conversation. Lacey assumed that Becky was calling her terrible when Becky was actually calling the booking itself terrible. Becky felt like WWE should have kept the momentum going in 2019 with a very high-profile first feud after WrestleMania 35, but how the feud and story with Lacey Evans was doing the exact opposite of that. Becky has yet to respond to Lacey Evans, and it's looking like it'll stay that way because Lacey's remarks don't really call for a response, especially since everything just got really out of hand and taken out of context. AJ Lee recently revealed a big story of how CM Punk once went off script for her in a very unexpected way. This all went down during Punk and AJ's story together back in the early 2010s. According to AJ, they were doing a live backstage segment in which CM Punk's character was supposed to say something mean and rude to AJ to advance the narrative that they had going on at the time, and AJ was fully ready to hear those mean remarks from CM Punk's mouth. But as they were live in front of the cameras and in the middle of the segment, CM Punk never said those mean lines that were in the script at all. Punk went completely off script, and instead of saying something awful to AJ like he was supposed to, AJ said Punk was instead flirting and actually making a move on her, all in the middle of this live backstage segment. AJ and Punk became close friends with zero love interest in each other at first, but AJ said that quickly changed, and they were married before they knew it. As far as things go with CM Punk and AJ Lee in current day, AJ's first program back after 10 years was to team up with her husband CM Punk, and they had a great story there. It looks like WWE has separated them on television and they're each doing their own separate things right now on screen. AJ Lee has her whole story going on right now with Becky Lynch and the War Games participants, while CM Punk has his hands full right now with his own War Games match, and potentially even Roman Reigns coming after him as well. But that's not to say there's no shot AJ and Punk ever team up with each other ever again. There's a big husband and wife duo that's rising up over on Smackdown with Aleister Black and Zelina Vega. So if WWE ever gets the itch again to do another match with CM Punk and AJ Lee, Aleister Black and Zelina do seem like the prime opponents there for that story. Roman Reigns has been at the center of a lot of discussion this week after a very cryptic storyline teaser from Raw, and that was how he noted that a championship would look better over his shoulder, but he didn't clarify if he was speaking to CM Punk or Cody Rhodes. We dove deep into that whole direction earlier this week about who Roman could have been talking to there, but the other question we're to discuss is if Roman has even a bigger scheme and a bigger plan happening at the moment that's connected to this new apparent aspiration for world title gold. Judging by that smirk Roman had on his face after dropping that cryptic warning to CM Punk and Cody Rhodes, it's clear that Roman is up to something. It's not just a plain and empty remark. That's something Roman would only drop and reveal if he had a whole plan already in place. So Roman feels confident enough to tease the idea of coming back after the world titles again. What are the other connected parts of his apparent plan? Well, a lot of fans are looking at the Usos to be that extended part of Roman's big scheme. The biggest flaw with this story and direction, though, is that it's simply repetitive. It feels pretty much identical to Roman's direction and usage from the Thunderdome days. During that era, Roman has quite literally beat Jay into submission and to becoming his right-hand man. But it wasn't enough. Roman wanted more. That's when Roman made some calls and was able to get Jimmy Uso to return to be with them. Although Jimmy was a bit hesitant at first to fall in line under Roman, Jimmy eventually did fall in line, and Roman had both the Usos under his control, which we all know led to the empire of the bloodline being formed and created. So it worked before. Is Roman trying to run back to the exact same format and see if it would work again in current day? Roman has been planting very subtle potential manipulation seeds with the Usos over the last few months. Roman has spent a lot of time trying to get Jey Uso to think like him and operate like him, which has been successful so far. Jey is listening to that advice from Roman and has done plenty of questionable things as of late. So Jey gets it and he's listening, but similar to the Thunderdome days, Jimmy Uso is the one that's holding back Roman and Jey right now. Jimmy isn't really on board with what Roman is preaching. He doesn't appreciate the stuff that Roman is feeding to Jey's head, and there's a lot of quiet conflict going on right now there amongst those three original Bloodline members. So, if this is a reboot of their Thunderdome storyline, it does make you wonder if Jimmy will eventually come around and get on board to what Roman and Jey are up to right now, because Jimmy is the obstacle and interruption currently. If Roman can get Jimmy to come along in the same way that Jey has, the first phase of this plan from Roman would basically be complete. He'll be back on the same page with the Usos again, and we all know what happened the last time those three were truly on the same page. They just absolutely took over. But Roman does have to tread lightly though, because the Usos are smarter now in current day after going through all that prior manipulation over the years. So Roman would have to be very careful, because the slightest red flag of Roman reverting to his old ways, Jimmy and Jey are probably out of there. So Roman has to play out his plan extremely smart to keep the Usos on his side, which also is elevating himself into the world title picture as well. So with Roman dropping that teaser, with WrestleMania season shockingly not that far away, it looks like we can expect lots of things to pick up here for Roman. But what are your thoughts on today's stories? Leave your comments below. Don't forget to subscribe with all notifications on, and leave a like if you enjoyed. Thanks for watching, guys.